Hello, this is Randy. Thank you for joining me for another edition of Brain Break with Randy and Keitho. I wanted to talk about how things have changed since I was a boy. When I was a boy, I remember bringing guns to school for show and tell. They weren't loaded. It was in elementary school. But when I was in high school, friends of mine and I would go shooting for dove before school, and then we would leave our loaded weapons in the trucks in the parking lot, and they weren't locked. It was such a different time. We had not had at that point a school shooting. We respected each other. We respected the law generally. There were some kind of things that you thought about and went, ooh. But I now look at where schools are so politically correct. I was substituting at a school, and I was specifically asked to substitute for a special ed teacher who was out after having some surgery and it hadn't gone so well. And on this day that I was there for a week and the day that I was there, I had to go around and pick up children. A lot of what I was doing, especially with the younger children, was playing with them. And I picked up two children that were new to the school. Both of them were from the Navajo reservation. Both of them were in kindergarten. One spoke a little bit of English and the other one didn't speak any English. Well, that day was the day that a mom and dad had a problem. I guess there was there'd already been a divorce or there was going to be a divorce. The father, in his anger, came onto the school property wanting to get his children, but he didn't come through the front and he didn't do it properly. He just jumped the fence and came on. Well, that resulted in a lockdown. The police were called, and every minute or two, this loud alarm would go off telling us there was a lockdown. Now, as a teacher, my job was to make sure all of the exterior doors were locked and then to keep the children settled down. But again, I had these two children that didn't speak English. I don't speak Navajo. I mean, I know that's about it. I don't remember the other words that my friends taught me in Navajo. But I finally got them settled down and playing. Every time this alarm would go off, and it went off regularly every couple of minutes, this little girl would just scream, just terrified her. I didn't have the language to explain to her. The little boy didn't know enough English for me to explain to him what was going on, but he understood that I was calm and everything was going to be okay. This little girl didn't get that. So he tried to calm her. They didn't know each other. They really weren't in the same class. They were just from the same tribe. So I guess my point is things have changed an awful lot. Now, this father, he did get arrested for trespassing, and this probably made the divorce procedure go more quickly, which was sad. I mean, to me, divorce is always sad. Two people that loved each other enough to get married and to have children and then to divorce is sad. I count myself extremely lucky that I've been married to the same woman for 44 years. It has taken a lot of effort on both our parts to maintain that. One, we don't ever talk about the D word, divorce, because we believe we're married for time and all eternity. We have our children and our children's families, our grandchildren, and they keep us pretty much together and keep us wanting to be part of the team together. But it was a different time. I don't remember ever having a house key when I was a boy until I was, I don't know, in college. I think I finally got a key to my dad's house. And that was probably because they were going out of town. But the house was never locked. Go in the front door, go in the back door if you wanted. It's not like we had a big guard dog that was going to come after you. It was just that's the way things were. We used to leave our windows open at night. My windows would open in such a way that my friends would climb in my bedroom window and come and harass me. I had more than one come in at night and wake me up. Hey, let's go do this. Let's go do that. Well, I had a paper route, so that wasn't going to happen. But it was nice to have friends that thought of me. Life has just changed. One of the reasons we moved when we did 6 years ago is because we lived one street off of a major road, a state highway. And, all of the, I'll call them vagos, people up to no good, had warrants. They would walk up and down our street, and if they saw an Amazon package, they would walk by our house and check our mailbox. Well, we had to put a locking mailbox out front, but they'd still walk by our house If they could find a package on our porch, they would take that package. And I was in business and constantly had samples being sent to me for customers. I would find a box that I recognized, 3, 4 houses down the way, and they had opened the box and just tossed it because they knew it was nothing they could sell and it was useless to them. But it really played havoc with my life. It drove my wife crazy, and it rightfully should have. We would call the police and they would come and patrol that street and make lots of arrests. And as soon as the police stopped, they'd still do it. Come right on over. It was just a way to get away from, because if they were on the main street, the police were up and down the main street looking for speeders and whatnot. They would stop these guys and ask for ID and find out if they had any warrants. If they did, they would take them to jail. So yeah, things are different. I remember as a boy, I had a mini bike. I may have told this story before. I hope not. But it was like a little tote goat. It wasn't really built for speed. It was built for climbing hills. We would take that around where the sidewalk would have been, but our neighborhood didn't have sidewalks. I got stopped by more than one police officer and told that I needed to be careful, make sure I didn't go in the street. But he couldn't ticket me because I was still on privately owned property. We would drive it up and down the alley, which was not fit for cars or motorcycles, and then around the block. But I remember the police stopping me when I was first driving and teaching me about things that I was doing wrong without ticketing me, not giving me a formal warning, but making sure that I was safe and that I knew that I needed to stop better than I had, that I ran that stop sign, and he wasn't going to give me a ticket this time, but don't do it again. I miss those days. When we first moved to Mesa, we had 2 brothers that were our police officers at night. Those guys were amazing. They kept our neighborhood safe. One night, some kids came over from Phoenix, and they got behind our house in the alley. I don't know what they were up to, but it was no good. The police came and chased them off. But there had been something going on back there, and the police were back there, and my dog was going crazy. Now, these 2 brothers knew me and knew that I would come back with my gun and my dog. My dog was a 60-pound Australian cattle dog. You didn't want to mess with that dog. He is very defensive. Well, what I didn't know is that one of the brothers made it and one didn't. The other officer was not one of the brothers, and he didn't know me. And so I came back around and went out into the alley. I've got a handgun in one hand and a flashlight and a dog in the other. And I call out to these brothers, and one of them responds. But of course, the other one doesn't because he's not one of the brothers. The next thing I know, I've got a flashlight aimed at me. And I can see in the shadow of the flashlight, this guy's aiming a gun at me as well and telling me to get on my knees. And I mean, my blood runs cold. I had a big handgun. He didn't make me drop it, but because I wouldn't have. I take good care of my guns. But he told me to get on my knees. And luckily, this other officer was not so involved in his investigation that he wasn't able to come and rescue me from that situation. That's the only time I've had somebody point a gun at me in anger or fear. And I was grateful for the other officer looking out for me. Now, this officer, my dog knew, and he liked him. And if my dog liked you, his name was Drover at the time. If Drover liked you, you were good. If you weren't, he would probably take your shoes. He did that to more than one person that came into our yard without permission. He literally would hang onto their shoes, and if they were wearing boots or a work boot, laced or not, that shoe was his. And I don't know how many shoes I purchased for these guys, but more than one set, whether it was the power company or the gas company or whatever. So I've gotten a little afield, but things have changed. I don't think that we are teaching the respect that we need to for human life. These video games that are so violent, one-person shooter games, and you play and you're trying to kill everybody. I'm not sure that's a good thing. I don't know. I know I've played them. It hasn't made me want to go out and shoot anybody, but I worry about the people that it has made them want to go out and shoot people. The movies that are extremely violent, I worry about that. I won't tell you I don't watch them. I do. But again, it doesn't make me want to go shoot anybody. But we live in violent times, and I've never seen our country in a more divided time, and it concerns me. And I hope that we can learn to love our neighbor again and to treat each other as we should. Live the golden rule. And if we do that, we'll be happier and our country will be much more improved. I guess in some ways I would like to return to the past in the way it used to be. And I'll be talking about that in some future podcasts about what life was like when I was growing up. Totally different world then than it is now. Take care. Thank you so much for watching and joining me for Brain Break with Randy and Keitho. Please like and subscribe. I'm loving your comments, and tell your friends and neighbors about us. Have a wonderful day.